Now, there was an explosion this past weekend at President Mnangagwa's political rally in Bulawayo. Acie Lumumba, who's a political consultant and strategist, joins us now to speak about what this means for the political climate ahead of Zimbabwe's first post-Mugabe election. Acie, many thanks for joining us this afternoon. I think one question that everybody's got on their minds is what exactly would what happened this weekend do for the credibility of those elections?
I think what you need to put into perspective is what happened this weekend is not an attack on the president. It's an attack on the very idea of democracy, on the very idea that if I disagree with an opinion that you have, how should I respond to my point of disagreement? Do I respond by arguing? Do I respond by voting? Or do I respond by attacking? So whoever performed this treacherous act is a coward. But what will it do to the credibility of the elections? I think the elections, like the Vice President said yesterday in his rally, they'll go ahead. Everybody is prepared for those elections. I think the opposition leaders have been very clear that they want the election to happen. The president has been very clear he wants the election to happen. The security forces will have to upgrade the protocol of their security perimeters in order to ensure that, number one, you protect the integrity of the ballot box, you protect the integrity of the voter, but you also, and very importantly, protect the integrity of the elected. And I think everybody is working all hands on deck to ensure that happens. I know that the president met today with his JOC, with his joint operating chiefs, to ensure that all security agencies in the country are prepared and focused on making sure we have a sound and credible election.
Actually, one thing that actually stands out here is over the weekend we saw two different attacks. One, of course, for Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of Ethiopia, where a grenade was propelled. Now that is very different from what we saw in Bulawayo, because this was actually right just a few yards, if any, away from the president himself. What do you say to someone like me who can argue that this is an insider job and Zanu PF has questions to answer on the inside, away from democracy, away from everything? The G40 is not yet relinquished.
Well, what I would say to somebody like you, as you prefixed it, is don't be an overnight ballistics expert. There are people who go to school and get trained for many years to figure this stuff out. They need to first of all ascertain what type of explosive was it, where was the explosive thrown from, and how was it detonated. So what we saw and we are concluding was the object that exploded is something that flew in the sky. We don't know. Understand there is 6 separate agencies in the country, including an international one that South Africa has lended to us, that are on the ground right now investigating this. As soon as the investigation is done, it's very important for people in my country, and I think for people everywhere across the world, not to become experts overnight on what ballistics are. We don't know, and that's the simple truth. Nobody knows, but you raised something that I think is crucial, that could this be an inside job? You know, could this be Zanu PF going after Zanu PF? I think absolutely not, because Zanu PF wins nothing if they go against each other. They are stronger as one political party than they are divided. If you break any part of the chain right now, it's already suffering from 2 breaks. The Mugabe break, the Joyce Mujuru break since the last election. It cannot afford any other breaks, and there is no sound reasoning. There's no motive or cause why they would want to break. I don't think it's eternal. I think it's a lone ranger. You connected it to what happened in Ethiopia. I think what happened in Ethiopia is a clear attack that is an orchestrated act by a group of an Islamic strand. What happened in Zimbabwe has not been called a terrorist attack for a simple reason, that there's no claimant to the cause. There is also no group or organized movement that are saying this was us. I think it's pure mischief. And before this week ends, I am sure the security sector would have given us an update.
Yeah, and I suppose it's not just about the security sector. The ZEC also has to be prepared for these particular elections. And I mean, we've had issues a few weeks ago actually around the voters' roll, about it not being available to everybody electronically. You know, how are we navigating through these challenges ahead of those elections?
It's a matter of process. You know, what happens when you have an election as open and as crucial as the one we now have in Zimbabwe is, again, everybody is now an expert. So you hear everybody saying, I want the voters' roll. You ask them, what do you want it for? Do you even know how to analyze the voters' roll, how to read the voters' roll? They just want the voters' roll because they heard somewhere that they're supposed to get the voters' roll. Now, who is supposed to get the voters' roll and how? Candidates are supposed to get the voters' roll, and interested, registered organizations like NGOs, like observer missions, can access the voters' roll, but there's a sequence and a process by which you do this. You apply for it as per the mandate, as per the instruction given by ZEC. That is being done, that is being put out. Is it perfect? Of course not. Is it perfect anywhere in the world? Of course not. It's the first time we're using a BVR system. There will be errors, there will be false starts, but I think Zimbabwe is on the correct path. I think the president has a steady hand of what's happening in this election, and I think we will have a free and fair election.